Good evening, newbies, and welcome to season 2 of Nonprofits Empowering Worlds podcast. Today we are joined by Mario F. Wright. Let me pull him up. Mario is the founder and executive director of Beyond City Limits, a Newark-based nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting at-risk youth, justice-impacted individuals, and underserved communities through art, storytelling, and mentorship. I am your host, Bridget Scarborough. I am a nonprofit strategist and grant writer. I am also the founder of a company called 501c3 My.org. I am also part of a global broadcast network called the Female Solution. Before we bring Mario to the stage, let's hear a word from the Female Solution.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Leaders of nonprofits empowering worlds. Let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
Yes, I've done things in my past. Haven't we all? I may have stolen things once or twice, just as you may have. I mean, aren't you taking from me when you raise these prices, society? And yeah, I've sold drugs, just as you tried some here and there. But as each second of the day changes, past doesn't have to define who I am today and stunt my growth.
Excuse me, everybody. This is a robbery. I'm sorry, that's a bad joke. I just want to show you the negative a person could be doing and the positive a person could be doing. You know what I said? Drug dealer versus poet. I was a better hustler than I am a writer. I was good at getting straight to the point when I handled my business, living fast. As far as literature, sitting still and going into detail, I probably finished last. Drugs medicated the pain. My poems can do the same. I'm still your prescriber. I'd rather give the people something positive as I switch the game. I still serve fire, but the streets keep calling and writers block my number. If I answer, they'll say he's dumb and dumber. You can't sniff or smoke this, but I could write you something erotic and take you to ecstasy. Or maybe I enlighten you with my word from something I learned instead of fighting you on the curb because one of us got burned. And they'll still lock me up if I get too influential. That's okay. I never mind taking risks. That's evidential. But we had to add something good to our credentials. I did. I threw away the drugs and picked up a pencil. Thank you.
Mario, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Peace. Thank you for having me.
Nonprofit. Yes. Author, nonprofit founder, poet, spoken word artist, filmmaker extraordinaire. You do a
Educator,
lot.
advocate, yeah.
Educator. Absolutely. But you know what? I'm not surprised because nonprofit founder and author and educator, those three things seem to go together.
Yeah,
I've been
absolutely.
working with nonprofit. Yeah, I've been working with nonprofit founders for a while, and a lot of them are authors as well. A lot of them are educators as well.
Yeah, once you learn, you know, that you have something in you, you want to figure out how to give it to the world.
Absolutely. So I'm going to jump right in. Aside from your title, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you as a person? What experiences shaped who you are today?
Wow. All right. So I think growing up had it a little rough. So, you know, coming from my neighborhood, a mixed kid, all black neighborhood, impoverished, struck by crime and drug addiction, especially within my own household. I would say that's what shaped who I am today. My all of my experience shaped me having to discover myself and learn about this world, and then also leading up to where I'm at now, trying to save that same little boy from having to go through all those things. And that's my reason for creating a youth organization. I'm a father of 3. Yeah, was really into. I was one of the ones they called a bad kid, and
Okay.
yeah.
And when you say growing up, that was in Newark, right?
Yeah,
Is that
so
where you're from, born and raised?
I was born in Newark. It's a outside city, right out like neighboring borderline East Orange, and yeah, that's where I'm from, Essex County, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yep.
And so for those of our audience that may be hearing about your organization for the first time, what is the mission and what do you do to go about solving the problem?
So Beyond City Limits mission is empowering youth, and exactly like the title said, beyond the city limits, the limitations that's placed upon us systemically, the barriers, and helping youth navigate through that, discover themselves, and help them on their paths, you know. And we go through that by mentorship. Creative expression and storytelling is a major part of it, because this is how we learn. This is how we communicate. This is how we get to know ourselves. So, and being able to express ourselves and advocate for ourselves. So, yeah, have a range of workshops and programs and curriculums that I bring to schools, institutions, youth jails, and with partner organizations to reach as many youth I could. We're trying to stop kids from going through struggles, you know, going to jail. Mass incarceration is a major part. I don't know how much the numbers changed, but it was once, you know, 1 out of every 3 black boys are going to be arrested. You know, also
a lot of us graduate at a third grade reading level, you know. So yeah, guiding us on paths to better living, you know, mental health, education, and avoiding the traps that this society has on us that we're easily able to fall into.
Yeah, and you do this primarily through art initiatives?
Yeah, I would say storytelling, reading, writing, videography, poetry, uh, putting things on paper, whether it's your goals, whether it's your a vision board, whether it's drawing, painting, photography, uh, clothing design, yeah, cooking, gardening, any ways that we could express ourselves and learn about ourselves, discover things that I think I'm bringing Beyond City Limits as a resource to figure out what it is you might like, figure out what it is that works for you.
Now, is art and creative expression how you were able to overcome the streets or the hardships that you encountered as a youth?
No, as a youth, it didn't that's not writing and creative expression is not how I was able to cope through the things I was going through. I actually chose negative things, and that sent me on my path in life because these things weren't introduced to me. I didn't know about these things. Nobody said, "Hey, are you good at playing the drums? Are you good at writing?" No, I had to discover these, you know, unfortunately, later on in life in my 30s while I'm sitting in prison. That's when I discovered, you know, my writing abilities. And yes, that's what helped my whole transformation. Uh, Being able to learn about myself, learn about society, put things in perspective, started to teach myself. And yeah, very transformational, life changing, finding out something that you're good at, finding a way to release the things that are inside of you that you don't understand in a more positive way, learning a new way to communicate with others and build community with others, positive community. So yeah, it's what changed my life, but it wasn't as a youth.
So, what age group do you primarily target, and how do you find the children that you work with and the people you work with?
Well, let's say ages 7 to 25. Luckily, I'm right next to New York City, and you know, it's 6 million or so people over there. So there's a large amount of organizations that focus on uh, my community, people that I serve, and it's different age groups. So you might have an organization that's working with younger kids where their mothers are in prison, or you might have an organization where it's young adults that got locked up and fighting their cases, and ATI program, alternative to incarceration. So I immediately started working with all these organizations and seeing that like I had a gift with all of them. You know, I'm able to reach and I'm needed in all of these rooms. You know, that these stories, you know, even the children's book, I was able to sometimes I workshop and read that with grown men, young men. And yeah, so that's pretty much it's a pretty good age range.
So how did you discover your own artistic abilities? If that's not how you grew up and that wasn't an outlet for you, how did you discover that within yourself? Because I know you're also a spoken word artist. Where did that when did you begin to foster that creativity within yourself?
Well, after reflection, I could look back and see the things that were building up to it. And, I was locked up as a juvenile, and my mother was locked up too. And we were writing letters to each other and reading letters that are that intimate. You could see and learn the art in it. And I might have not have noticed as much then, but I did like those letters. And all the way up into my adult years of getting in trouble, I would still write letters and learn more that, I like being creative that way and writing those letters. And so then in my more recent, once I started tapping into poetry, now in my 30s, and during COVID, once I said, I started expressing myself in this way and it was a good release. And then I'm like, oh, wow, this is good. During COVID, incarcerated, they had us like in a cell for months and months at a time. So that's where a lot of my books came from during that time, sitting in a cell.
What was the moment that you realized you needed to start an organization?
It's probably before I started writing. Honestly, it was like, I don't know, it was something that I just thought, like, what if kids had somewhere to go, to a positive place to go? What if I could create that? So that was something I thought about beforehand. And then while I'm out here doing this work, publishing my books, working with organizations, that's when I said, I had to sit back and look at my resume and my portfolio of things that I was doing, all the pictures and all the kids I seen, reached, still in connection with, and was like, oh no, this is a nonprofit. I need to start a nonprofit so I could do this, to a higher capacity, be able to do this more. If that makes sense.
So you were already doing the work before it became a formal nonprofit.
Yeah. So after publishing the books, I was getting called in by other nonprofits to facilitate their groups, and speaking engagements, to lead projects. And so I said, once I seen that, and I just thinking of like, how could I do it? Like, this is what I love to do. How do I do this and be able to do it, the way I want to do it, the way I see it working all around, not waiting on, people to call on me or so. Yeah. It's the janitor. No such thing as a bad child.
So is that the book that you wrote that caused people to start bringing you in to work with children?
Yeah, but both of them, both my poetry book, my first poetry book and a children's book, at the same time, it was like classic hits if they were albums, and it was like,
let me pull that.
It was like, wow, like, I guess me choosing to do this work. Yeah. Poetic freedom. That's me as a baby. I put behind bars to just symbolize like a rough upbringing.
And then the second one is me in an actual federal prison cell. And yeah, once I these two books, Poetic Freedom and The Janitor, was like my business card almost, like, without me even noticing, like, that people would call on me to teach through these. Yeah, this not something that I foreseen.
Okay, tell us about The Janitor. What is this book about?
All right, well, I told you I was the one that they called the little bad child, and I really don't believe that there's a such thing. I don't think the child's mind is developed enough to be bad by choice. Therefore, it's the parent, the teacher that are, I think we lack looking into what the kid is going through. And that's what the janitor does. He's paying attention to the kids and seeing their little missteps. If their parents are too busy at home, or they're in a foster home and don't have a parent, or only one parent household, sometimes a child doesn't know what it is that he's going through. Sometimes the parent's too busy, or the parent don't even know what they're going through. So, but it is our job to pay close attention. And that's what the janitor does. Each kid is making little minor missteps that could deter their choices and send them on wrong paths. But the janitor, seeing this, he gets them on the right track. The janitor is just a figure for an adult figure that pays attention to.
Just paying attention. Absolutely. That's an awesome idea. That is an awesome idea. Yeah, you always have those people in the building, in the school building, that really are the true teachers, so to speak. You got the teacher in the classroom, but then you have those other individuals that may not have the title and therefore are not necessarily held accountable to having to deliver a message in a certain kind of way,
Yeah.
And a lot of times those individuals make the biggest difference. Could be the lunchroom lady, could be the janitor, could be a paraprofessional or assistant in the classroom, or a disciplinarian, a security guard. Yeah, but those people have impact as well. The whole environment is important.
Very, 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 very intentional. Pretty much saying that it's all of our job.
So when was your organization actually founded? What year?
January 2025.
Oh, so it's fairly new as a structure.
Yeah, about 15 months almost. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So you are a newbie. So in my world, go ahead.
It's really taken off really fast. Surprises me sometimes. I've done work with Maryland Department of Juvenile Services, New York City's ACS, inside there, doing a cultural literacy inside of the Juvenile Center in Brooklyn right now. I met with the Georgia Juvenile Commissioner. So yeah, it's really worked with a lot of nonprofits already, been into a lot of schools already, even international, working on an international initiative. So yeah, it's really them 15 months been
say beautiful, honestly, beautiful start.
So, is there something that you have been surprised at? I mean, I know you're still kind of new at this, but is there something that you wish somebody would have told you about starting a nonprofit? Something you were surprised about once you got up and running and you were into it? Is there something that you feel like was surprising to you that you didn't know before you started?
Uh, I wouldn't say,
Whether good or bad.
not necessarily surprising. It's a lot to go into it. Uh, I think, maybe just you almost got to do it all yourself. You know, you're building it yourself. It's not like people aren't going to come out the woodworks and tell you how to. And it's so much. So even when people give you some insight, it's like, all right, well, yeah, but where do I start? That's why like a nonprofit strategist like yourself is very important, because it's so much that goes into it. And if you don't have it, if you don't have all of that uh, down packed, then I don't think there is no longevity. So I think it's surprising how much it is that goes into it. I don't want to be no big, huge nonprofit. I mean, unfortunately, you have to grow to continue to do the work on a big scale. But I just want to do the work, honestly, and forming a nonprofit is how it needed to be done.
That's interesting that you say that, because a lot of people, and I think it's smart that you say that, because a lot of people go into this wanting to go too big too fast, and then they crash and burn. This is something that I try to tell a lot of new founders, is that you want to, number one, be realistic, but you also want to make sure that the work is your primary concern, because the growth will come. Just like how you said you just kind of naturally started getting calls about, coming to talk to students once you started doing the work. That wasn't necessarily your desire. You just did what you wanted to make an impact, and you started making moves. And then the growth just kind of happened. And I think that the people that last a long time and that make the most impact are the people that kind of let that type of natural growth happen, versus kind of going into it with all these lofty ideas like, oh, I want to be the biggest nonprofit. I want to, have $1 million budget. I want to have a $10 million budget. I want to get a federal grant, and they haven't even done the work yet. And so you have to actually do the work first, and then the resources come to you. The resources begin to come to you once you've started to show and prove. I really like that's the approach that you've taken.
Yeah, I would say that.
Go ahead.
If I didn't get funding, and I know this isn't good for fundraising and needing funders, but if I didn't start a nonprofit, or if I don't get funding and help for this, I'm still going to do this for the next 10 or 20 years. I started this I published that children's book on my own. That's from me not wanting kids to go to prison after me. So yeah, no matter what, I'm going to do this work, regardless, but I do need help. So yeah,
all funding and collaborations are definitely welcome, you know. But yeah, it does come from a genuine, real spot. Like I feel myself in the kids. I see myself in the kids when I'm working with them. You know, I'm able to relate to them on almost every level of things that they are going through because I've been through a lot of it myself. And also, I was very observant. So I watched my whole community and everybody else going through these same things too. So I feel like I am the kids and I know them. And I think they feel that connection too when I'm with them. And that right there is priceless and something that I know that, you know, we just have to continue to do regardless. So
Yeah, well, one thing that you said when you first started talking, you said, "Oh, I know this probably is not good to say, but I'll do this work regardless." Actually, that is a great thing to say because what people don't understand is when it comes to getting funding, funders want to know that you will exist even without their funding. And so to be able to show that regardless of whether they fund you or not, you're going to still do the work, that's actually what makes you get funded more.
okay.
And so I always tell people, just start doing the work. Don't wait until you get funding to do the work. You have to start doing the work first. That's where a lot of people make their mistake. And so you did it the right way. You did it the right way. This is like literally like a master class on what to do. You get started, you do the work, and then you approach funders because you can say, "Hey, I've done this. This is the impact we've made. These are the results. And we need your funding to grow. We need your funding to scale so that we can reach more people." But you don't come with nothing and say, "Oh, we need your funding to get started." No, that unless you have connections and you just know people, that usually doesn't work. So yeah, kudos to you.
Thank you.
We're gonna on this note, I think we're gonna go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and then we will come back and we'll get into these books a little deeper that you have.
Welcome to Master Force with Mushin Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
Okay, newbies, we are back. So Mario, let's get into these books that you've written, which I don't know how you have time to do all of this, but you have written what, 5 books?
Yeah, 5 books.
And we talked about The Janitor, which was a children's book. But these 2 books, Poetic Freedom and Poetic Freedom 2, these are poetry books.
Yeah, so these
Why
are
don't you tell us a little bit about these books? How did they come about? How did you publish them? What's the content like?
Yeah, so self-published. These are almost about all together about 200 poems, 190, something like that. And you starting off from my childhood all the way up throughout my life, things I experienced, my parents, things I experienced inside the system, how I view schools, how I view society, my perspective, letters to my kids, letters to my kids' mothers, just all things that I'm going through, expressing myself, communicating, and putting the world into perspective, advocating, yeah, all in the poetic form.
And so some of the workshops and things like that you do are teaching children how to write and express themselves creatively. Do they read your poetry? Do you talk about your poetry with the kids, with the students?
I think it's very important. And a lot of times I gift my books. I've given out hundreds of books. And I think it's important because I didn't know an author before I came one. And now I know hundreds. But so, yeah, I workshop out of my books. You know, they could take the books home with them. They could have it autographed by the author. And I think that's very important to see, especially when they can relate and see that I'm one of them, you know, or especially with some of the circumstances, like when they're in the youth jails, you know, how important that is, giving them something positive to go read at night, something that they could turn their situation into, something that they'll probably sit down on their desk and start writing similarly, you know. So yeah, I workshop through my books a lot of time, not all the time, and I gift my books.
In your work with the students, do you see some real talent, like where you're like, whoa, like this kid got some real talent, whether it be, you know, in any of the art forms?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, once they
Or do
start,
you see your own self?
I think once they start writing and letting out what's inside of them, you could just see brilliance. You could see a relief that they're able to think, and maybe not so much in discussion when we're discussing the things, but once they start writing and these things was to get edited, you know, yeah, it's like it's inside of us all, you know. So yeah, it's just getting out, and I know it's working in real time too, you know, when they're able to express these things that they're struggling with.
Have you seen where organization or your interaction with the students have made a difference in someone's life? Like, is there any specific stories you have of a difference that you've made in a student's life or the organization has made?
Yeah, I think for one, being able to read and write in a time where kids are just swiping through their phones, sitting in their phones all day long, I think that's a win right there. I'm dealing with a lot of kids that are at risk, getting locked up, fighting with staff. And while I'm programming with them,
they're reflecting, and while my program is running, whether it's weeks, months, they're no longer doing those things. And the feedback that I'm getting from staff is like, I never seen every child engaged before. You know, I'm in the Brooklyn Youth Center, and you know, New York City is a big city, so they can't house all the kids that are getting in trouble. So most of the ones that are in there are all for violent offenses. You know, so to see these hardened young men that have been through things sit down and be all eyes and ears and want to learn and want to listen and want to come back and do the program is like, yeah, you see it working in real time. You know, kids reaching out to me afterwards, wanting to work back with me, you know. So, yeah.
Now, does your organization have a physical space, or are you just mobile right now?
I'm just mobile right now, and that's definitely in the plan to have physical places in multiple cities, places that's outside of their neighborhoods that they could travel to, places that it could be job opportunities for them, and yeah.
Speaking of that, I wanted to ask you about the name of your organization, Beyond City Limits. What sparked that name? What is the meaning behind that? What was the inspiration behind it?
There's so many limitations placed on our communities, you know, whether it's the resources to these creative spaces, whether it's education, whether it's traveling, whether it's jobs, housing, you know, it's a lot of limitations. So yeah, we're going beyond that. We're going to find our way to go beyond them city limits.
Okay, and
breaking systemic barriers.
That word systemic. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? When I have my concept of system when I think about systems in mind, but what do you mean by systemic and systems? You've mentioned that a couple of times.
Yeah, so we're talking about all of society. We're talking about the school to prison pipeline. We're talking about the inadequate school systems. We're talking about the foster care system, how the healthcare system, the job force in this capitalistic society. All systems are not serving our communities properly. And it leads to, under-resourced youth, loveless children, and the paths of, not as successful lives. So I hope that explains it well.
Yeah, absolutely. You name more systems than what I even thought about. I was thinking about the education system, the penal system, of course, but yeah, the capitalistic system is definitely a system that works against us in many cases. Thank you for sharing that. I do want to talk a little bit about, before we end this, because we do have to end soon, I do want to talk a little bit about the last couple of books that you've written. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull up your... two books that we haven't touched upon yet.
Okay. So burnt cookout music.
Cookout music.
Short story. Yep. So what that is just instead of the poetic form, which there's a few poems in there too, but giving it more of a story feel for people that might not necessarily gravitate to poetry. A lot of people in my community is like poetry, they would rather me be a rapper. They would rather, some people, probably prefer me coming home doing the same negative things I was doing before I went in. It was more beneficial to what they do, might not just understand the language of poetry. So my short stories was telling similar stories in short story forms to deliver the message in an entertaining way that could grab more people. And it's proven very successful in my workshops to get youth to start writing their stories. Youth around 14 to 16, I seen stories come out of, my stories.
And you have one children's book that I believe this is your latest children's book.
Mm-hmm. So the librarian is another janitor figure. Same thing. Looking at it's a continuation of the janitor and just looking after the three children, their missteps. And yeah, she's able to read kids. The janitor cleans kids up. The librarian reads them and getting them on the right track. The librarian is a little special because you have Angel going through grief with the passing of her mother. You have Lefty, which is disabled, so he doesn't have a lot of friends. And you have Lena that's going through that's been through bullying, but is choosing now to be the aggressor, to avoid bullying. And these are the things that the librarian notices and gets them all show them that they're good kids. And so that's that.
Well, I know a librarian that would be happy to get her hands on this book. I have a good friend who is a librarian, and that is definitely her role. I work at a school as well. So, yeah, she would, I have to let her know about that book. She would be excited. So any upcoming projects that our audience needs to know about, can get involved with, can support with?
Yeah, so well, I'm open. I definitely would, when we mention the systems and we know that it has failed and hasn't been the best resource for our youth. So therefore it's on us. And that's why I've chosen this work, and that's why I took this full on. So when I say it's on us, any collaboration, any type of support, any type of donation is welcome. I'm taking on the initiative of republishing my children's book in Amharic, that's the Ethiopian language, as I've been advising an organization in Ethiopia that also goes into a youth center out there, on how to work with their youth. And now we're publishing The Janitor and Amharic, there go. And to fundraise, to go out there and work directly with their youth. The organization, which was very, very, very awakening that this was their approach, but it's like if we focus on our youth, it'll build our economy up. And just a real mutual partnership
relationship, and yeah, I really look forward to doing that. So yeah, fundraising around these things and around nonprofit is what's definitely needed to keep these things going. I have a violent prevention project I just did, which turned out to be really good. So I'll be taking a workshop in to youth organizations inside the jails to give
Nice.
at-risk youth to another way of resolving issues without resorting to violence. And that video is on YouTube. It's called Corner Store. How do you say? Beware of the language in it. It is to depict a real life situation and speaks the language of that situation and a language that, you know, these youth can understand. And yeah, so you can enjoy that. Beyond City Limits Inc.org. You can make donations through there. I'm open to come into a city near you. And yeah, it's a lot of good things going on, but you can reach out to me and ask me.
Hopefully we'll see you in Chicago again soon. So if there's any opportunities, I'll definitely be hitting you up about that. Shoot, you need to come to my school. So we'll definitely talk. But in terms of your short film Corner Store, the link to that will be on our YouTube channel on this broadcast. So just, go to 501c3.org on YouTube, and you will see all of the past episodes as well as this episode, and all of the links to, not all of the links, but a few links to some of his work will be on there on the YouTube channel. So you can definitely experience the other Mario, the artiste, Mario, the spoken word artist, on YouTube. And also they can just Google you as well, or search Mario F. Wright on YouTube. There's a ton of content there.
Yeah.
There's a ton of content there. So, but yeah, the link to Corner Store will be on our YouTube, 501c3.org's YouTube channel on this particular broadcast.
Thank you. Yeah,
so Mario, go ahead.
Any final?
Yeah, any final thoughts? What is it? And again, I know that you have just started this formal journey of being a nonprofit. And by the way, newbie means nonprofits empowering worlds. So anybody that's in the nonprofit world is a newbie, whether you are new to the game or whether you have been in it for a while, you're still a newbie. That's the community. That's our community. So as a person just entering this this industry, this nonprofit industry, is there any advice that you would give to someone who is thinking about starting a nonprofit? Like any words of wisdom from the limited time that you've been doing it?
Yeah.
What would you want to tell?
I would say lead with love, yeah, put that over it being a business, because we should be paid for the things that we do, the work we're doing, but definitely lead with love. And that has proven to me to be a revolving door for the work that I'm doing, just genuinely being able to do it, just, when asked, or do it from the heart, you know. So I would say really just lead with love, whatever you're choosing to do, you know. And I also say that because we need more love in the world.
We absolutely do. Well, Mario, it was a pleasure meeting you for the second time. And hopefully this won't be the last.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You're great. 501c3 is great. And yeah, see you again on this side or the other, Chicago. And thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I welcome all of y'all into to be in community with me. Yeah, we have to do this. So thank y'all and peace.
Yep. Peace out.